Let's talk about Seattle. I was disappointed.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I was very disappointed with who they picked. Again,
you look at this team on paper, it doesn't,
it's a little underwhelming.
Yeah.
I think we thought there'd be some trades, and there's still time to come, and there's still free agency. Now, their exclusive window is dwindling down here because other teams are going to be able to jump in the free agency mix here real soon. So I was expecting a little bit more from Seattle, but I'm not surprised that Ron Francis is playing cautious and playing it safe because he came from Carolina where they were not a spend to the cap team.
Yep.
They were a budget team. They had limited resources in terms of cash value. I thought Francis might kind of carry over some of that mindset into Seattle, even though their owners have said, hey, you can spend to the cap here. We don't mind. Let's probably want to try and recreate what Vegas has done, but they didn't use the same tactics Vegas did. Vegas made a lot of side deals to get players, like getting Fleury, like getting Shea Theodore from Anaheim, where they say, okay, if you're going to protect that guy, that's fine. We'll take someone else, but give us a player, give us a pick. Yeah. Seattle didn't do any of that, really.
That's the thing, is you saw what Vegas did and look at where they are. I just don't know how you don't follow that blueprint. I guess if it doesn't go as well as it did for Vegas, it blows up in your face. But still, man, you see that blueprint. I don't know how you don't follow what Vegas did. Exactly.
Apparently, Francis was talking to teams about trades and about deals, but he wanted the prices were astronomical. Is the word that everyone keeps using. At some point, Ronnie, you got to come off a little bit and just get anything you can, because what you have in terms of the cap availability and the cap space to take on a bad contract or two.
You have one chance at this. You know what I mean? Like your franchise is never going to get to experience what is happening ever again.
Now maybe he's smarter than both of us and he's waiting until this draft comes around and he's going to catch a team that's willing to, okay, we can't do it anymore. We'll give you this to take this contract. Or he's going to wait till free agency kicks in and some team says, hey, we really want this player. We can't afford him. Let's get Seattle to take him and throw something their way to take a bad contract off our hands. But I was shocked there wasn't already happening.
There also just wasn't a flashy pick, I guess, is you know what I mean? Yeah. Like even if you took Tarasenko, you know what I mean? They didn't take that flashy player that everyone thought they would.
So you could have taken Carey Price, who has a big contract, but is apparently injured, and flipped into another team who might have been interested, eat a little bit of Carey's contract, flip into another team for a good young player or picks. You could have done that with Tarasenko, who apparently had a no movement clause, though. So if he goes, and then he could dictate terms when he's in Seattle, which would have been frustrating. But it seems like they just went the cautious approach, and it seems like they're very analytically sound because the analytics community loved what they did. And they went with a lot of players who are analytics, not darlings, so to speak, but like have very good underlying numbers. Yeah. Which is fine, but you had a chance here to jump right out of the gate. And I guess they're not worried about marketing or selling tickets. I mean, their season tickets sold out in, 12 minutes, I think they said on the broadcast, which is good. But it just felt like you needed a little more firepower in this lineup because a lot of what they're going to be very hard to play against. I'll say that. We'll read off some of the highlights of the roster here in a little bit. They're going to be very hard to play against. They got good two-way players, fundamentally sound players. I think scoring is going to be a problem for them. What they do have going for them is a weak Pacific Division. Yeah. So basically the realignment, what's happened with the realignment is they've taken Arizona out of the Pacific Division and slid them over into the Central. Yeah. And they've placed Seattle in the Pacific Division. And now the league's even again. All the divisions are even.
Vancouver's in Seattle opening night, I think. Yeah. I believe.
And then they got Vegas very early on in their schedule as well. Yeah. So let's look here. From the Islanders, they took Jordan Eberle. That's a good pick. That's a great two-way player who can score some goals. Jared McCann, who we've already talked about, it was tough for the Penguins to lose. Toronto would have loved to keep him, I'm sure. He's a good player. He can score. Yanni Gourde, who I think is, in my mind, the best forward that they were able to pick up off the Bolts, who's making a decent chunk. He's making $5 million a year for 4 more years, but he's got shoulder surgery. They're talking about him not being ready to go until like November.
Jesus.
They get Colin Blackwell from the Rangers, who's a solid young player. He's 28. He's not gonna like light it up, but he can play. He's tough to play against. Mason Appleton, who kind of had a big year for Winnipeg, he was kind of a surprise. Jonas Donskoy, or as Sean Kemp called him, Jonas Donskali.
What they did to that man.
Why didn't they give him a jersey?
I mean, it was bad enough you trot out Peyton and Kemp after you kicked the Sonics out of town. You can't even get the guy a fucking shirt that fits. My
He
lord.
they should have been calling him the glove dude because he squeezed into that shirt like a glove. That thing was so tight. That T-shirt was vacuum sealed, painted on him. Why couldn't and maybe Sean was like, yeah, that's fine. I'll just throw it on. But someone
Help
had to have
a guy
some
out,
self-awareness.
dude. There's
Give him a jersey.
anything.
Give him a big baggy jersey.
Give him a fucking quadruple XL hoodie, dude.
They got Callie Yarncroke, though, who Marshawn Lynch announced that pick. And he was like, his first pick, right? And Kevin Weeks was like, yeah, whatever, just go with it. He was like, yeah, it's first pick, Callie, my boy Callie. Who's, again, a good two-way player, can score a little bit, but he's not going to light it up by any means. They get Tanev, another situation where Tanev, he didn't score a lot of goals for Pittsburgh, but he scored some pretty big ones.
Oh, yeah.
Good timely goals.
A lot of juice.
Tyler Pitlik, who was the one guy who they did take and then flip to Calgary for a 4th-round pick. They got Jeremy Lawson from Boston. There was some talk there. Maybe they go after Krejci, who was a free agent, and they didn't do that. Vince Dunn instead of Tarasenko, but by all accounts, Vince Dunn is going to be a great defenseman in this league, and now he was behind some guys in St. Louis. Now he gets a chance to shine. Alexiak, as we mentioned, I like their decor. Mark Giordano from Calgary, he's not a Norris caliber player anymore, but he's probably going to be their captain.
But it's just like you said, there's just not that guy that jumps off the paper that's going to score fucking 30 or 40 goals. You know what I mean?
No. They got
Unless they make it. I mean, they could still make moves, right?
They got Hayden Fleury, who was former, I think he was a draft pick of Francis. He was 7th overall. Carolina ended up moving on him. He went to Anaheim. They pull him from Anaheim. And then a lot of guys, the guy they got from the Flyers, Carson Twarynski.
Guy's a weapon, dude.
I don't even think the Flyers knew who he was when Seattle. They're that's who you're taking? Because the Flyers left some guys exposed because they wanted to shed some contracts, and they're kind of trying to flip it to a younger team. And I was very surprised with some of the choices made. I will say I feel like they're good on the back end.
Yeah.
And Drieger's solid in net. We'll see if he's as good without that team that Florida had in front of him. Yeah. And they got Vitek Vanacek from the Capitals, who surprised everybody and had a great year until he got hurt in that playoff game.
Yeah.
They get Joey Decord from Ottawa, 24 years old. He's the 3rd goaltender. And then, like I said, we'll see what they do now with free agency and the draft coming up. Maybe they make some moves. And they're picking 3rd overall or 2nd overall?
I'm not positive.
I think it's 3rd overall. Because Buffalo, thank God they won that lottery and got their 1st overall pick, because that's a franchise that needed that.
Yeah.
Needed that. Seattle picks 2. So you're going to get a good player there.
Yeah, like I said, there's just, I don't know. It'd just be nice to have that one flashy player. You know what I mean? Like if you're trotting somebody out from this team, who's the face of the franchise?
That's where I'm.
You know what I mean?
I agree with you there, because it's Yanni Gourde,
right?
He was a good player in Tampa, and he put on a hell of a show with the Cup boat parade. And he was going ham ski, and he's awesome. And I love him as a player. I think he's a perfect second line center. I think he was playing bouncing between the 2nd and 3rd line in Tampa there for a little bit.